What's up, gentlemen?
What is up?
Hey, Lo.
Yes.
You know, this is technically the official 3-pillar set.
Okay.
You know, we got the wall going on. We got some decor. And to celebrate our first official set recording, we have our first official guest.
Hey
Mr.
guys.
Mr. Kevin Ha.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
It's nice to finally be on the podcast.
Yeah, man. What'd you hear about it so far? Something about like you and Lo talking about this at a tattoo appointment? Share that moment.
Yeah, so it was during a shading session, probably about a year ago, and that was like when you were in talks about starting a podcast. And you were like, hey bro, I want you to be the first guest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we were having that conversation, and it's crazy to reflect back and to think that an idea that was created and sprouted through all the efforts of everybody here, right? And so I felt that during that conversation, just kind of visualizing the future, I just felt that would be the best because I know how close you and Dale are and how much of a important person you are in his life personally and in business. And you are definitely a creative, a professional creative, and you're also a dear friend of me. You've always been a brother to me. You've been there for me through a lot of hard times, and so it just felt only right, you know. So, and to show everybody more of the driving forces of behind the scenes for Burgundy Sweets.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, off camera, obviously, we have a lot of good talks. So I think like it's nice to translate that into, you know, in the world too. For sure. Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Before we get started into all of that, Lo, do you want to give a little introduction to who Kevin is?
Okay, so who Kevin is? Well, what do you mean, like more professionally, or
Yeah, just like how we introed each other.
we intro each other?
Yeah.
Okay, so how I see Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay, so from when I first met Kevin, he's always been a very polite and humble and respectful person. I know him to be very passionate when it comes to creating and definitely helping people express themselves through music and visual arts production. And I admire him very, very much because of his honesty, his vulnerability when we have our conversations, whether that's personal or here at the studio or when we're doing tattoos. And a trait about him that I admire a lot is his dedication and his love and respect for Dale. And straight up, you know, like he always talks about, he always gives the flowers where the flowers are due. And yeah, he's just like a badass creative, you know, and I respect his work and what he does here as part of the team for Burgundy Sweets.
Shit, that means a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Kevin to me is, and I've shared this with you plenty of times, but in this journey of like creating the studio, finding my way as a director, you know, I meet fuck tons of people from, you know, interns, people we meet at shoots, and a bunch of other creators. I've met thousands by now. And I've always wondered if there's anyone like me out there, right? And not with like the surface of like being able to do everything, but like the term we always come up with, the workhorse, right? Can the passion outweigh the pain, right? And can we keep going without bitching, right? And so, you know, we made this podcast because it's the perspectives of creatives in business, right? And so, yeah, I'm really happy you're here, man.
Thank you. And there's one quote that like always stuck by me that you said when it comes, you know, along the lines of like talking about being workhorses and, you know, figuring stuff out, and that's, you know, you can either sit there and bitch about it or you can do something about it.
Real shit.
There's always a way, right?
There's always a way. Dope, man. Well, thank you for being here, bro.
Okay.
In my life, in this podcast, thank you for being here.
Likewise.
So now's your turn. Let's share with the world what you do.
So, what do I do? So, there's two parts of my creative life. First one being here with Dale. We do a lot of music video work and, a lot of like storytelling for, companies and stuff like that. Overall, a very fun and expressive outlet. There's always something fun and, exciting to look forward to. Second part of my life is boba. So I am the content producer for Teaspoon. So all of the photos and videos that you see across the brand is done by me. So in my life, boba and music videos.
Dope, man. Now, what's important about what he just said was that's what he does now. But the point of our podcast is to kind of figure out how you got here. Right? So now share how you got here.
Damn.
Let's go back.
Going back. So I guess from a young age, I've always liked, working with a camera. I remember as kids, like, every summer, and it wasn't even really like video. It was just like, we would snap photos of like, us fucking around. And then at the end of summer, I would put together like a slideshow. And then, I guess that was like kind of a video, right? But then, I guess when I got my first camera, it was a Canon 60D. Nothing fancy. I would bring it with me whenever, me and the homies would kick it. We would turn up, and I would just be there with the camera, capturing the moment. And it probably wasn't until like 7 years ago that I wanted to take it more serious, have it be more of a creative outlet. Started filming cars, content for like clothing brands, a lot of like event stuff, and in this creative path, knowing people and having connections matters a lot. Because that's what's going to take you places. And, just over time, like, meeting the right people, here I am.
Thanks for sharing. I don't know if you caught it, but he said 7 years ago. Now, the number 7 is important to both of us. You want to share why?
So I know for Dale, it's been 7 years since he started this.
Yeah.
And it's been 7 years, going on to my 8th year as a full-time tattoo artist, or as a professional tattoo artist. That 777. I've been hearing that number a lot lately. Yeah.
Must mean something.
Lucky numbers, right?
Some people hear 7 years and they feel like it's like, that's a long time. But fellas, is it a long time?
What do you say? How do you feel now?
I feel like it's too fast. Yeah.
No, definitely. Like 7 years, like looking back at it now, it was like a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And I feel like as creatives, especially like workaholics, it's easy to forget how much you've done, right? And so, because in what we do, we kind of have like an end product, right? For you, it's finished art pieces, right? Tattoos, drawings. For us, it's like videos, photos, whatever, right? And for me, the moment that I can reflect on how much I've done is just by looking at, being able to look back at those videos and take that moment as a reminder. Because, 7 years went by like that.
Yeah.
So.
I think a huge part that plays into that is that as creatives, and especially professional creatives where we have deadlines and things like that, is sometimes we're not aware of it, and some creatives won't be aware of it, but a mental habit that we have to have is that we have to finish a project and just move on to the next one. Leave that there and then come in with a fresh mind, because if we dwell too much on the inconsistencies or the perfections of the project previous, that takes away from our creative capacity for anyone. And so, like when we're having the conversation from the earlier podcast, we're asking each other, how many music videos do you think we've shot? And we can't even come up with a number. How many drawings or tattoos do you think I've done? I have no idea. All I know is the next one I'm about to do. You know what I mean? And that's on my main focus. And so that kind of plays into like us starting the path of being mindful and being able to enjoy and soak in the big events of the historical achievements, right? And because we have built up this habits for so long, it's just like, okay, just leave that there, go. Leave that there, go. That could be a love-hate relationship because of that reason. Yeah. And so, yeah.
So taking what Lo said, how do you feel about all that?
Well, I wanted to touch on like what you said about, just working on, a project and onto the next, right? But I think like at one point in all of our careers, we were perfectionists. And I think like in your mind at the time, you might think like, oh, like I'm trying to get, do the best job, and of course do your best job, right? But like more like you stay stuck on it. Something can always be better. And yeah, I know you said something about that with music, right? Like you always critique it, something could be better, something could be better. So just, do it and move on to the next. But yeah.
Yeah, there's like a level of understanding for like being perfectionist, right? Because you can be perfect all you want, but if you don't stop, analyze, and move on, that shit's never coming out.
Absolutely.
And then you never move on. So taking into account what Lo said, how many hours do you think you put into this craft?
I don't know, dude. Like,
Right?
Thousands of hours.
Walk us through like your learning journey. Was it like every night while you were working at a job? Like walk us through it all that.
Fucking YouTube University, dog. Yeah, like in the early days, I had a full-time job at like a tech place, long hours. And I remember getting off of work, eating dinner real quick, and then just going on YouTube and just, watching like, how to, set exposure or like lighting, right? Or like editing techniques. So in the beginning, like for sure you have that drive. So, you just keep like engaged with it. Yeah. So there's a lot of hours into this craft. And one thing I do want to say though is like, like we said, 7 years into this craft, but one thing is to never stop learning, because like it's easy to get into like an autopilot groove, right? And the last thing you want to do is like stay stagnant. So
Yeah.
So just like in the beginning where you have that drive, it should always be like that.
If you stay stagnant, that's where the ego comes in.
Yep.
Thinking you're the shit, thinking you know everything. In reality, we never know everything.
Yeah.
I think it's important to understand both mindsets of like a teacher and a student.
Yes.
Because a teacher, you have to be confident in what you're teaching to a certain degree. But a true master of any craft is a student, always. Right?
Also, one thing that this fool said in the past was, do you really know your shit if you can't teach it?
Yeah.
And that was just one thing that stuck by me, because like, it just proves like, you really know what you do if you can't teach it to somebody fresh.
Yeah.
So I have a question then, going off of that. What was your first experience that you can recall with music or production with videos that you did this project and you're like, damn, I'm happy because I know my stuff, and I'm grateful for the experience I've had up to this point. And this was just like, damn, you started seeing the quality of your experience, because sometimes when we first start doing it, the first one might not be good. You know what I mean? Where there's a drawing or a production or whatever it may be, and it might take a 1 month or 1 year or 10 years until you hit that like, fuck yeah, like that's a good one. What do you think was your first one?
I would say when I did like the first music videos like on my own, and I think at that point, I don't remember if I was like working with Dale already, but I remember I'd always like looked up to his work because like Dale has done a lot of work for Asian American like rappers and stuff, right? And so whenever I would do like pre-production on my videos with like my clients, I would always like reference Dale videos, right? So I think that's definitely where like I grabbed my style from, and then just taking that into account, I think when I filmed some music videos on my own, and then after the fact post production, I'm like, man, this shit's sick. So yeah, I would say like, and that was like many years into the craft.
How long did you do?
I would say at least like 4. Yeah, but even then, like I look back at those videos and I'm like, that shit was like, well, like given what we can do now, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say like one of the first like music videos I did on my own.
A little tad of a rewind. We've all had jobs before doing this, and you mentioned you were in a tech job. What was it, and what made you said, man, I want more in my life?
I would say it was like, so the tech place was like working with like semiconductors. I don't know if you can share too much because, secrets and all that stuff, but it was like long hours, like 10 to 12 hours. And then I just remember like, I already had like a want to like be creative, right? And, I would see like all these other like, I guess, videographers and, directors like doing like real cool stuff. So I was like, damn, like, I kind of want to do that one day. And I viewed like the creating as like freedom, because like I could either do something that I don't enjoy just to get by for the rest of my life, or turn it into a career and like have the freedom that I want and express myself. So
How was that transition for you though? Like having maybe a stable job, something comfortable, a paycheck, not having to worry about the day-to-day management and things like that, because once you become professional creative for yourself, it's not just the fun things, right? You have to wear a lot of hats. And so making that transition over, do you feel like it was an easy transition, or was it like a very emotional transition?
there was a lot of thought, but I just saved up and said, fuck that shit, dude. Yeah,
There you go, guys.
So it was financial backing that allowed you to say, okay, I can do this.
Well, it's definitely, like don't quit your job if you're like, don't got the funds to support yourself. So like definitely, have some thought about it. But luckily, I did save up, and then, I had already known a few people, so I guess, like, I don't want to say getting client work was easy, because like after the fact, like you still have to like, put yourself out there, and then word of mouth helps a lot too, right? People who you've like maybe done some free work for, right? Because in this craft, like you kind of like, it's inevitable to do free work in the beginning. So just through word of mouth, and then you slowly just kind of build yourself from there. It's gonna be rough, no doubt, but that's all part of the character building at the end of the day. Like when you reflect where you're at now. So the transition was not rough, but not easy.
Definitely uncomfortable though.
For sure, because it's something new, and then new things are always like a challenge.
So I feel like for the people watching and the inspired creatives, so that part of it, even having the balls to go out there and to put yourself out there as a creative, most people don't even pick up a pencil to draw because of that fear. They literally could be sitting in a room by themselves, but they fear so much of what they're going to create because they're so scared of failing that they don't even do it. And I'm sure that it's the same in the music world and things like that. But we always have this like driving passion of like wanting to do certain creative outlets. And so, what would you say to those people that's watching right now, the young men and women that want to start? What would you say as a piece of advice for them to just get started?
You gotta do your due diligence. And what I mean by that is like, let's just take like, you know, camera work for example. Just pick up the camera and shoot. You know, go to the park, you know, learn how to film shit in slow motion. You know, just practice. Same thing with, you know, tattooing and art, right? Pick up that pencil, start drawing. Like, it could be squares and circles, you know?
Scribbles.
Yeah, like, for anyone starting out in any, like, craft, you just gotta get started. Like, there's no way you're gonna get better if you don't practice. Right? And then before you know it, you're gonna get to a point where you're like, wow, like, you know, I created something dope.
And to take like what Lo mentioned earlier about failing being the motivating factor for most people not to do anything, right? What are both of you guys' thoughts on failing?
I mean, just like earlier, I joked around about like, you know, even though I thought the videos were dope, looking back at it now, like, the shit was ass. Just don't be afraid to fail, because it's like, do something wrong at that point, and then, you know, the next time you do it, you know not to do it. Right? So how are you gonna know to improve if you don't make that failure, make that mistake?
Yeah, in hindsight, reflecting back, I don't mean to say this to make it sound sad or anything like that, but I already felt like I was a failure to begin with. And so it was like doing whatever I wanted, like it didn't matter if I failed or not, because like I was already expecting myself to not do a good job of what I was doing, you know? And so when I did do good jobs, it was like, oh, okay, nice. But at the end of the day, it was like, I accepted that failure was just a part of life. And that helped guide me through a lot of experiences in life where I had to put myself out there for whatever reasons and speak up or, you know, express myself. Because at the end of the day, it was like, I was ready for failure and whatever that entailed, you know? But we just have to accept that though. Because even especially in martial arts or in drawing, painting, tattooing, we have to understand that you're not even going to be able to understand what success is in your own individual way if you don't learn what failure is for you in your own individual way. It's all part of the same stream, you know? So we have to accept both.
And like, I feel like in life, there's always going to be like failures or things to learn at every like stage of your life, because you're never going to really have it figured out, right? Like, you're in your 30s, right? You have your own set of like failures, right? But when you reach 40, there's going to be a whole new set of failures, but you're just taking what you learned from the 30s and onto the next, right? Whether that be in life or whether that be career.
How would you do? What comes to your mind when you hear that word?
First of all, I can't count how many times we failed. Speaking from my own perspective, I don't even, there's no way to measure that. I failed so much, it's ridiculous. But like Kevin said, you learn from it, right? And I want to bring up an acronym that my mentor would share with me, FAIL, first attempt in learning.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. We're done to a t-shirt and sell it online. $29.99.
And if you think about that, right, like Lo mentioned earlier, some people don't even start because of the fear of failing, right? But that's just a part of the learning curve, right? You can't get to whatever accolade if you don't fuck up along the way and learn from it. Because when you fuck up, you get to be better. You get to find out different ways to approach things. And then you find what works for you, and you just keep it moving. Yeah, but it's important to realize, like, this journey is not easy. It's uncomfortable for sure, and it comes with a lot of failures, but the passion is what keeps it going, right? It's a seesaw effect, right? Which one are you going to let be more powerful? right? Which one is going to keep you up this day? You gotta hope it's the passion part of it, because everything else you can then ignore.
Yeah, passion is definitely like a big driving factor. Yeah, it's like what does like your heart want out of this?
So continuing on to that train of thought, right? So the beginning, now towards maybe the middle of the present day right now, in your honest words, because I don't want to give people the impression who's watching this that it's all sunshine and rainbows now that we're sitting here talking to each other, right? Do you feel as of right now that your passion has dwindled or it has grown exponentially?
So, what's the relationship with your passion?
Right now, yeah, because just your own individual perspective on your work and stuff like that. Sometimes, like it goes, and we're kind of just on like cruise control.
Yeah.
And so,
Autopilot.
Autopilot. And I want to see where you're at with that.
Yeah, I think it definitely like shifts with age and experience. Like when you first started out, you could have had ambitions to, be at a certain level of your career, but then, now that you've done like this amount of work, you're at where you're at, you might want something different, right? So I guess like for me, like I still want to create, cool stuff, whether it be for like, music videos or for like, it's vocal, right? As of right now, I would say like my passion is still the same. I can't say for in 5 years, but it's still there. It's still driving me to go day to day. Yeah. So maybe in 5 years, I'll let you know if it changed. But
so if I can also follow up, thank you for sharing that, by the way. If your passion has remained about the same, and you have already been acclimated to the day-to-day productivity of what you do. So now that kind of just becomes your standard right now, right? So let me ask you the question, what do you feel like sparks the flame inside of you? That really gets that going?
that keeps the passion going.
No, that you could think about it and you dream of doing it and it just like lights a huge fire. Because right now you have a warm campfire of passion that you're just used to right now. But then what do you feel that would be like a wildfire inside of you?
Ooh. Well, let's just say like for the music video side.
Sure.
Uh,
Why you look at me like that? I got no secrets.
well, there's also a lot of like great music video directors that we look up to, and they're always getting better. So whenever I see like music videos that are just grade A level shit, it makes me want to say like I want to do that one day. The day that like we can have that like crazy set or like just overall product that keeps me going.
And it's building blocks, right?
Yeah.
Year one version of ourselves wouldn't have even been able to do that part of it.
Yeah. And I think the cool thing now is that we understand like for production, right? Like we understand like what it takes to like do that. So like you can like just start analyzing like, well, this is probably how they lit that scene, or this is probably how they did that, like camera movement. So just yeah. So that answers that question.
How about you, Dale?
What sparks it?
What? Because then you're open to your day-to-days. What do you think about right now? And in all honesty, it could be whatever, like singing on a stage or like she rocking a 1 million person crowd.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? You're just like, oh fuck yeah.
That's a very, very dynamic and tricky question because it changes.
Okay.
Right? I haven't gone to a lot of concerts, but I've been to enough, and I've always imagined I'm the one up there instead of down here. That's always been my, even though I got into video, right, and helping all these other clients and artists, right, deep down that was always there. That was always the goal, but I didn't act on it until about 3 years ago, right? Like, I almost took like the studio and the client work as like my portfolio building, right, and like me becoming more seasoned to feel strong enough to be like, you know what, and confident enough to be like, okay, you know what, it's time for me to do my shit. Right, trying to rekindle that fire. There was a question that Lo asked earlier, and I kind of want to dig deeper into there. If you don't mind, I'm gonna dig deep. Gay.
That's what he said.
So we talk every other day, multiple times a week, in person, on the phone. We talk a lot. Same with you and me, right? And so. I know the trials and tribulations that you go through.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously, we don't have to name drop and all this stuff, right? But for me, what I think Lo was wanting to kind of get down to was like, there's highs and lows to this journey, right? And, Lo and I have come to a point where, the thing that we love became so transactional, so unaligned with our core value that we became numb, right? And have you felt or share with us like your day-to-day and how many projects you work through? Has that feeling ever came up?
Of like numbness?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So, day to day, like my day job with Teaspoon, like I do crank out a lot of content.
A lot.
Yeah, and I would say like sometimes it is a challenge to, get creative, right? Because like you're just kind of running like nonstop, like creating, right? But yeah, I would say definitely there's burnout, that numbness. Yeah, like it's just your brain is just like overheated from being creative.
Yeah.
So I think like that, those are like the lows of this journey, right? It's like when you're just on autopilot, creating, but you don't get a moment to like reset.
Do you believe that when you reached that point, it was because of an external factor, like the work was just dropped onto you, or was that your own internal drive to be like, bring it all on, you know what I mean, at once? What do you think was more?
I think it's a combination of both, because like as like a workaholic, you want to take everything on, right? But then also like, when you have I guess like that corporate environment, there are like, some pressures and challenges. So figuring out how to deal with both is a challenge. Yeah, it's just like, the pressures of like getting like content improved or stuff like that.
Are those pressures ever made you want to quit?
Damn.
Tell us.
Well, let's just say like, quit the craft, right?
Yeah, well, some context, right? So the three of us being workhorses, right? Week after week after week after week, summing up to years, we crank out work,
Yeah.
right? Every week,
yeah.
we crank out. And I need to be clear, it's not like going to a normal job. Because going to a normal job, you clock in, you do the job. Sure, you could be tired, but then you clock out, you go home. But creativity requires a part of your brain mentally where it has to be on forever.
Yeah.
Right? And it has to keep creating. So, and just by those facts, it takes so much more energy to do.
Yeah.
So much more capacity, and thus equaling more burnout. But for some reason, week after week after week, we still don't quit.
You could be taking the shit and like an idea could come to you, but I would say hasn't really crossed my mind to like, you know, quit the craft, because I'd rather be doing this. Like I can't see myself doing something else. You know, like I'd rather worry about like how can I get this shot right than, you know, analyze like numbers on a spreadsheet. Like, you know, no hate on those people, but I'd rather be creative.
So you're choosing your pain.
Right. And like, you know, it's a nice reward creating dope shit.
Yeah.
But
Do you think we're getting down that path we wanted?
What is
Figuring out numbness and creativity.
Yeah, sure. I think hearing perspective and having these open conversations definitely helps us paint the picture in front of us and allows us to see the numbness. I think one common denominator is just the overload of work and losing, because when you get stuck in that thought process, right? Visualization, creativity, you lose touch with the outside world. We're not able to be present for our peers, not even present for ourselves or our family, right? And we get so stuck up in this imaginative world as creatives that we lose sense of things. We can't feel things, right? And just studying psychology and, you know, all of our anecdotal experience and all the information I've gathered about myself, it's like you get stuck into this world you didn't really feel. It never turns off. You're always listening to what songs to make or what picture to draw or how you're going to do this and that. When I talk to certain people, we call them sensory type of people, right? They live in external experience, meaning they're always on the go-getters, they're thinking forward. Us as visualizers, we have to think backwards and forward, right? And I had a conversation with some people, martial artists, and they look at me, and to me it's like the drawing and being around creatives all day is like, we don't even need to talk about how to start creativity. It's already like, especially with experienced people, it's just like, oh, it's like the back of my hand, you know? I have a library of books in my head already, right?
A lifetime of references.
Exactly. And so I talk to some martial artists and they'll come up to me outside of my creative circle or peers. They'll be like, how do you do that? I wish I could do that. And when I first started hanging out with the outside world and I met new people, they told me something like that, it really blew me away because I was like, what do you mean you can't do that? They're like, I can't even pick up a pencil or draw anything. And being stuck to myself for a majority of my life for so long, up to about the age of 30, you know, very selective with the people around, and being by myself when I met a whole new group of people with a new sober and clear mindset, it was just like, I thought they were lying to me. I was like, what do you mean that you cannot do it? What do you mean you can't? They're like, I can't even picture anything in my head. I was like, I can like draw and tattoo in my head. You know what I mean? From beginning to end.
Yeah.
From beginning to end. And I'm sure you guys can do that with music and production, things like that. And that's the point I'm trying to make here is that we live in a world of visualization, but then other people live in a world of sensory. You know? And so now understanding that those are two opposite ends of thinking and perspective, we need to find a balance for both. Because when it becomes too extreme on one end, a lot of people go crazy. So a lot of creatives, we study them, they get so lost into their craft that they just completely lose sight of the reality. They start like gouging their eyeballs, they start like cutting their ears off and, you know, committing suicide, even things like that. You know, famous chess players back in the days, the best chess players in the world, they all have a high rate of going schizophrenic and going crazy because they constantly imagine the game all day long. That's all they've been doing for years, and they're not able to get out of that. So they develop schizophrenia, and then a lot of the things that they talk about don't make sense. Yeah, and so for creatives, it's very important for us nowadays, especially when we feel the numbness. At least from what I understand it is, we have to find that balance of like, okay, let's get the fuck out of this little world here, and then let's go touch some grass and sip a coffee and just sit at the beach and listen to the waves, right? And that's my understanding of how to balance out that numbness for myself. Martial arts helps. So, getting punched in the face helps. Wakes you up.
How do you think creators get into that path?
What path?
Just like never ending, stop thinking about it.
I believe, so to put it into words, right? In psychology, Carl Jung, he says that there normally is two types of personalities that we can identify with. And it's not that there's only two types of people, it's just a measuring tool to dictate and analyze people's tendencies, right? Because there's no such thing as a true introvert or a true extrovert. But introverts naturally, when they're born, because of maybe their upbringing, their circumstances, their genetic makeup, they're more thinkers. Their brain develops faster. They use this tool faster. Or for kids who go through a lot of trauma, and I believe I am one of those kids, is that when all the senses outside of you get so blown up and you have nothing else left and you cannot defend yourself, then the only thing you have left to defend yourself is your brain. You're forced to use that. And but maybe from the opposite end, right? Some people they're born strong, physically strong, and they're go-getters, and they're used to getting the money or getting the things they want or getting the superficial, tangible things. And so their mind, and they become developed into becoming the football players, the athletes, the gamblers, especially, people who get those types of satisfaction. They live their life like that. I believe some people, sometimes it's a spectrum. So sometimes people meet in the middle. Some people you might find that they're pretty decent at sports, and then they're pretty decent at drama too. It's a balance. But I think it's just the choices you make because of your circumstances overall, even up to an adult, your work circumstances and all those things, and how much time you spend doing those things, that keeps you encapsulated in either persona.
Which can be lonely.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's loneliness is my greatest friend. Well, art is, but I mean, loneliness is he's right there too.
Would you say that's the same for you or not?
Yeah, I would say, sometimes this path can feel kind of lonely, especially if you feel that you have no help. But then you just have to remind yourself that there are people around you that are willing to help and support you in this.
I think you should, or I would hope that you could talk about that a little bit more, especially for the people watching this. And this goes for everybody, not even just creatives, but people who live in their minds or end up living in their minds because you guys start reflecting for whatever reason, you guys start feeling helpless. It's very important that you guys understand there's people out here who's willing to help you guys. The reality that you guys create for yourselves, or that all of us can create for ourselves, we kind of get stuck into that little mindset. But you guys gotta break out of that, because that could kill you. There's people out there, there's a big world out there. If you want to find love and support, you have to really be open to it and have these conversations. So, what would you have to say more to it?
Yeah, it's very easy to feel like the world is against you. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people feel that way, but I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid to find somebody to talk to. Luckily I have you guys to talk to, and just voice it out, because the more you keep whatever's in your head bottled in, that's the worst thing you can yourself, because that's what can make you go crazy.
Especially toxic thoughts.
Yeah. So, find someone to, voice out what you're going through. And just express it. It's better than not expressing it and then it becoming detrimental to yourself. Who knows what can happen. So I feel like for myself, whenever I need to, talk about something, I usually call it that. He's like my personal therapist.
That's funny you say that, because starting this podcast in general, and I feel like how me and Dale really created a connection more than just our professional careers. He's my tribe man, my spiritual brother for sure too. Is because I felt like when I was going through a very hard time, I felt like I had nobody to understand. Like nobody could possibly understand. Like I could look at everybody, they could tell me like, oh, I can kind of understand what you're going through. Like you have no idea,
And then they give you advice.
Yeah. Like being a lifelong creative, living as a workhorse, having all of these responsibilities creatively and in management and running a business. You feel like you're about to just collapse sometimes, like you just want to collapse. But talking to Dale when we started opening up about that, I was like, oh, you do understand, because we are walking very similar paths here.
Mm-hmm.
And the ideas that we were sharing with each other in the beginning, I really appreciated your perspective, because it made me feel like I wasn't going fucking crazy. I thought I was alone, like, oh God, this is it, like, I'm done, this is over with, But talking to you and you being vulnerable and being so open and being just the kind, fucking solid person that you are, you saved me, bro. That fucking saved my life, straight up. I'll be honest, man. And I'm glad that now I have enough clarity to sit here and say that with complete 100% confidence. And I'm grateful to have this podcast to share these conversations with you guys. Yeah. That's why we're here, man. That's why we're fucking here.
It's good to sit down and have these conversations, because as humans, we were meant to socialize, right? We were never meant to be isolated.
Try to say that. Choke it up over there. Cry.
Yeah.
Cry so I can cry.
I'm just kidding. Man, it's it is like what Lo said, and thanks for saying all that, bro. We've obviously had way more conversations than in front of the camera.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And I tell my wife all the time that the two of you in this room are the biggest parts of my life on why I keep going. And you guys know the term workhorse. I could keep going, right? But to go at a level to where I want to come back to enjoying. I want to come back to being fulfilled, right? Because we've been to that dark place, right? I don't know if you've been there yet, right? But I think that's the point of this podcast, right? To share that is, it's not all flowers along the way.
Oh, for sure not.
Right? Yeah. And that dark place, it could have gotten worse, had we not found, solitude in each other, right? And
For sure.
For people watching this, that's the point of this podcast, right? To learn about people's stories, to figure out how do you not get to that dark place. Even though you might get there in due diligence, but how do you not get there? But if you are there, at least we're learning how to get out of it.
Or to even realize that you guys are there. Because sometimes you get stuck in there like, I hate the world, fuck this, like, why am I like this? And that thought comes up, why am I like this? Why is it going on? Why doesn't anyone understand me? Why can't I stop thinking? And a term I want to bring up right now is that people who don't understand, they'll use a dismissive word like, you're overthinking, just get over it. Like, no motherfucker, that's just how I'm wired. And I want to offer some words of reinforcement and encouragement to all my introverts to all my creatives and to all my intellectuals. Do not listen to those people who use that word. You're not fucking overthinking. You are just a deep, intuitive person, and you are having a deep conversation with yourself, and you need to process and see things through. You don't just rage through the garden. You don't just pick the flowers. You're the type of people who need to see why the flower grows, to understand it, to love it, and process your emotions. Sometimes the world moves so fast outside of us. In our minds, we might be safe at one point in our childhood or in our upbringing, whatever it may be, and then all of these dramatic things happen to you. Dramatic and traumatic, right? And you don't know how to process it because you didn't have a support system or a support system for your emotions, or a support system for your creativity or your intelligence. And people don't understand you, so you didn't know how to process certain things, and you have to sit there by yourself, and you're thinking over and over and over again, trying to figure it out because you're intuitive. Don't think that you are going crazy. That is a natural part of you, and you should honor that. Okay? Honor that, because there are people out there who cannot even think about two things at once. If you can think about a million things at one time, you have a fucking superpower. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you're overthinking or that you're crazy. Never, ever think that. Go seek people who understand you. Go seek people who walk similar paths, or people who are just as intelligent or just as creative as you. Find that circle, because you're not overthinking and you're not a broken record. The wrong people are just listening to your song. Straight up.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was watching a video. I think it was from like another podcast. It was like they were saying there was a statistic of people who don't have like those inner dialogues. Like, I'm pretty sure we all talk to ourselves, right? Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm talking to myself right now.
and I think that's part of like self-reflection, right? Like when we talk to ourselves, like we always question like we're doing this right, or not. And I think that helps make us better. But the majority of people don't do that. And I feel like those people are the ones who say like you're overthinking.
I wouldn't say majority, but because I don't know all 7 billion people on this earth.
Yeah.
But in our Western society, where achieving the goals and the accolades and the money, which is fucking shoved down our throats every single day through television and media, everywhere, it causes even the intuitives to adopt that mindset, and so that doesn't leave room for the thinkers, for the people who have to express, go back and forth and think about things all ways and see the beauty in things. It's just, okay, if this is not fucking beneficial to getting money right now or just reaching the goal, then whatever you're saying is nonsense. And that is the current narrative right now in Western society. And yeah, man, it's fucked, because that makes the sensitive people, the emotional people, the singers, the artists, the painters, the lovers, you get shut out now. In rap music nowadays, we put down women so much, and it's weak to be simping and and this and that. It's like, but people say that so effortlessly now. But if you really think about it, sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but if you really think about it, you're robbing yourself of the most beautiful thing in this world, is to love another person and to openly express that. And people who do that so effortlessly, like, I look at that and it blows my mind. Like, what the fuck, that's ass backwards, and it's gonna come to a point where people are gonna get so caught up in their forward motion and
The rat race.
that they're gonna be like, man, I'm tired of this. Why can't I love or feel anything anymore? Like, it's just nothing but war and competition now. And then they're gonna be like, where are the intuitives at? Where are the creators? Where are the lovers? It's a scale balance of the world, but for sure, like that's a horror that I see right now. Especially maybe like in this little pocket of reality that I have here with us. But maybe somewhere outside of the world, they're looking at this and be like, yeah, y'all tripping. Like, what the fuck? It's nothing but love and sunshine and good shit, good vibes out here, you know what I mean? So, hopefully that means my place like that one day, you know? Yeah.
You motherfuckers are Confucius.
Or Bob Marley.
It's almost an hour already, guys. Okay. And I want to start getting in the groove of wrapping our interviews, right, with our most curious questions. Obviously he shared quite a bit with us today, but do you have any curious questions you still down to ask him about his journey?
Okay. Since it's coming to a close, what do you want to accomplish within the next year's time? A year from this day.
Which is gonna come up quick.
Yeah. Just next year?
I think overall, just be and it's a generic answer, but like, be the best version of myself in this craft. But definitely push myself to the limits and learn new things and just learn new things. Don't be afraid to be uncomfortable. I think definitely get out of my comfort zone and life in this creative path. I would say about that.
That's specifically for you.
Well, but I was gonna say that. How about something like a specific goal? Like I want to be filming a fucking video for Lil Wayne or what something cool, you know?
Shit.
But you guys are cool.
In that case, I would say definitely film a video for a big Latin artist.
Who?
Manuel.
Say it one more time.
Film a video for Manuel.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Who's one of the biggest Latin artists out there.
And to you, if you're watching this, he was ready to film it.
no, I think that would be the pinnacle of my career.
Okay. Or the stepping stone.
Or that. Yeah. I think also definitely find more work in Miami. I think that is a goal as well. Networking with more Latin artists out there. I think I could say that would put the list too.
So just to help underline something here for all the viewers, I know we're just talking about making music videos and it was kind of just like a general gist, but just take for 1 second, imagine the awesomeness of what these two do. They travel from state to state to film music videos at events and places for their production. And they film artists and they coordinate and they create these beautiful visuals and they get to see the world. And I want you guys, especially the ones who have just been sitting in your room for the past 10 years on your computer watching music videos, these are the guys out there doing it. And that is and from being a person who lives in a cave with a pencil and paper, seeing these awesome gentlemen right here fucking travel the world and show that expression, oh man, it just gets me so hyped, and just taking time to digest that, guys, and you guys have the utmost respect for the future. It's so badass. Oh yeah.
I got some.
Sure.
Is this what your inner child wanted?
Ooh, it's a hard conversation with her. We're good.
3 Pillars, baby.
I would say young Kevin did not see this coming. I think young Kevin wanted to be a cop or some shit.
Okay, cool.
But I think if I were to tell little Kevin about all the great things that I've accomplished, I think little Kevin would be stoked.
Yeah.
Well, little Kevin is right here.
Right. I mean,
he never left.
You're a big kid.
It's in my heart,
So my follow-up question is, I'd like you to share with us items that you're proud of
Like in
whatever form you want. This is a practice that we started doing a few weeks ago too. You know, saying what we're proud of. You know,
I don't do that enough.
we don't.
you know, I want to say, and it doesn't really have anything to do with like videos and stuff, but the music. That, well, for those who don't know, I also have some songs with Dale, and I actually just told you the other day that, like, you know, listening to it and like the progress of, you know, the couple songs that we've had, I'm just like, oh shit, like, it's crazy to think that like I would even like make a song, or let alone have it like sound, you know, pretty decent. So I would say it's on music.
So fucking sick, dude.
You know? And you got to hear like a sneak peek.
You have an amazing voice, and one thing when I was here watching that production happening, I noticed a lot of things, and one thing that I admire is there wasn't that guesswork in the presentation or what to say. It wasn't like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do this or not, or like, I don't know if I want to even do the song, and you think this makes sense? It was none of that. Like the coordination between you two on that day was just like, these are the lyrics, and then let's get it going, you know? And you went in there and you hammered that shit out. Because coming from me, who like music hasn't been as prevalent as both of you guys, I was sitting there, I was just like, damn, imagine that singing in front of a crowd, like that'd be fucking crazy, you know? And I can only imagine the nerves, you know? Because right here sitting with you guys, like laughing is all good, but then I can imagine like having a microphone and singing in front of crowds, which, you know, yeah, we have done.
He's done that before.
Quite a few times.
I have too, but in my head. It's just insane, you know, and I admire that about you, bro. You got in there, and dude, you have a sweet voice, bro. Like, it's so sick. I didn't understand anything you were saying because it was all in Spanish, but I felt it. I felt it.
I think that's most important though, feeling it. Best advice you've ever gotten?
I like this question.
Best advice. I mean, I would love to repeat, you know, what I said earlier, which was, you know, you can either bitch about it or do something about it. And I think, you know, talking about all those like low moments that we've had, you know, in life or in this career path, it's always a good reminder that like, if you're feeling shitty, you can bed rot, you know, for half a day or the whole day. But is that something that's gonna, you know, do better for you? You know, I think like one thing I always tell myself is like do something that your future self will thank you for. So that goes in tandem with like, you know, you're gonna sit there and you can do something about it. You know, get yourself out of that shitty spot in your head. Figure it out.
Everyone is accountable for their own future, and it's not given to you. You earned it, right? So,
well, for us at least.
Yeah, yeah, for us at least.
But no, I guess in all senses, in all realities, because like even if you were given everything, you still have to create your own reality.
Right.
Yeah. So, yes, sir.
You can do anything you want. Put your mind to it.
Yeah, man. Lo, you want to share yours?
So on the last one, when Dale asked me this question, my best piece of advice I ever got was knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is true power. You can sit and think all day long. You can become a mastermind. You can do all of these types of things, but only until you put it into application and take it out of theory will you see the power of it. Because what is a great mind if it doesn't use it to do great things? And that goes to all the creatives out here, going back to what we're saying about having the jitters and the butterflies about getting started, picking up a microphone, singing in front of a crowd, picking up a pencil, drawing it, showing it to the world. All of you guys have this hidden creative intelligence inside of you, this need to express. But your fear of failure is stopping you. You're not doing anyone a favor by doing that. all of us creatives here. I want to tell all of you guys who haven't started any of that creative process that we would judge you for not doing it. Because what the fuck? Like, just do it so we can see what you're doing, because we want to share and, have inspirations. So, knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is true power. Yes. How about you?
My mentor always said, there's always a way. And, to go deep, it's like, you can never take everything for book value, what's on the surface, right? And what's presented to you. But like, this is how you live life, this is what you do, right? There's always a way around things that you can figure out on your own, and that comes down to how bad you want, right? It's gonna fuel that, decision to figure things out. And I live by that all the time, right? Like, ever since I learned it at my old job, for example, a client would say this thing, like, oh, I can't do this because I already have this contract with this guy. Most people would be like, oh, cool, thanks for your time, bye, right? But if you're persistent enough and you talk to them enough and they open up to you, you'll figure out a different avenue to get into that company, right? And so for me, I took what I've learned from my old job and from my old mentor, and when I started this whole thing, it was just making beats. I didn't know I was gonna be a fucking director, or a studio owner, travel fucking Puerto Rico and London. I didn't know that this was gonna happen, and fucking perform sold out shows of my own albums. I didn't know none of this shit was gonna happen. But it all comes down to me figuring out how to do it and practice the fuck out of it until I got way better and better and better. And I'm still learning, right? Oh man, what a life.
That was fucking sick, because he said he started making beats in his room. Now he's traveling to fucking Puerto Rico, filming music videos. Like, bro, what? That's so sick.
And I love that you mentioned how bad you want it, because that's also another, like, one of those phrases that come up in our conversations a lot. I feel like I get a lot of my quotes from you.
None of those quotes are official.
I know.
So there's this concept in life that I stumbled upon when I started this journey, right? The path to being creative, starting your own business, that path is an uphill one, right? You are in front of that wagon, you're pulling that wagon, and that hill is never ending, and that hill is never smooth, right? There's going to be all kinds of inclines happening, right? And in this journey to the top, you have the decision to allow who's on that wagon. They could either sit on that wagon and weigh you down and make this journey harder, or they could be a part of your productivity. Maybe they can be the one scouting the path. Maybe they could be the one in your ear, cheering you on, motivating you. Maybe they could be behind the wagon, pushing you so that you can let go of the weight a little bit. The reason why I bring that up is because you were the only one on my wagon for a long time. And then, you've helped me get this wagon where I needed to go. And I'm very thankful to, have you in my life and being our first guest here, man.
I'm really appreciative of the relationship built over the years. It's amazing to see all the great things we've done. I'm looking forward to what we will do.
More to come, bro. Lo, any final words, moments that you want to wrap this up with?
Oh, that was actually, man, that was beautiful. That we got to capture that on camera. And for me to be in the presence of you guys sharing something so beautiful, that enriches my life. I'll let you guys know that. And I want to say to Kev, thank you for being a part of Dale's life and being a part of my life, and always being down to help regardless of whatever the situation is, especially for myself. I'm very thankful. Especially when I wasn't voice and express myself, even with my ignorance of post-production responsibilities and things like that. Because before I didn't understand, especially when my mind was all fucked up, and just allowing me their time and energy to sit there and allow me to speak my piece during very harsh, dark times. And to also be there to help capture during good times, like my exhibition and just all the other videos, and being a part of that. And damn, like, yeah, just being a creative person in my life that I can talk to and respect. For everything. Thank you so much.
Any final words before we wrap this up?
Thank you guys for having me. You know, it's nice being able to voice things out, even though we do talk, normally. So, yeah, thank you again. Will we all be on here again?